Next from Springfield, members of the Illinois Municipal League unveiled their Moving Cities Forward legislative package. This runs about 20 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Brad Cole, Executive Director of the Illinois Municipal League, and we're joined here by mayors from throughout the state to talk about our Moving Cities Forward agenda, which has been provided to each of you and is available on our website, iml.org. The purpose of today's press conference is to talk about some issues that are of importance to local governments and municipal governments throughout Illinois. These are issues that are a part of our approved 2016 legislative agenda, also issues that came out of the Governor's Task Force on Local Government Consolidation and Unfunded Mandates, and some of our historic legislative positions on issues that reach far beyond municipalities but certainly involve local government. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Tom Gray, the president of the Illinois Municipal League and village president of the Village of Chatham, to talk about a couple of our issues. He will then introduce Mayor Darch, our first vice president, village president of Barrington, who will then introduce our Sergeant-at-Arms, Mayor Gene Williams of Linwood. Mayor Gray.
Thank you, Brad. Good morning, everyone. The Moving Cities Forward agenda is a comprehensive legislative package intended to strengthen local government's ability to provide critical services to Illinois taxpayers. In it, we have outlined forward-thinking solutions for local governments to confront the challenges faced by cities, villages, and towns statewide. These proposals are not all new. Several have been suggested by mayors across Illinois for many years. The well-known fiscal challenges facing the state are likely to have a negative spillover effect on local governments. Providing municipalities with additional flexibility over their finances and operations is the right solution to this problem. As mayors, each of us faces challenges unique to our communities, and we need the ability to address those issues in a way that makes sense for our residents. The Moving Cities Forward agenda will allow us to solve problems and govern with our specific community's interest in mind, which is especially important in light of the statewide budget challenges. Thank you. Mayor Darch?
Thank you, Mayor Gray. The legislative package that we are introducing today is critical to sustaining the local communities who are vital to the Illinois economy. Automatic appropriation authority of local funds, which is part of our package, would remove the need for annual appropriation enactment by the General Assembly and the Governor, which we know from last year can delay distribution. Automatic appropriation eliminates the budget entanglement for these non-general revenue funds. A second item, bringing transparency to the public safety arbitration process and requiring arbitrators to base decisions on actual available revenues as well as a municipality's current financial situation, would avoid the fiscal burdens created when benefits awarded exceed available revenues. And let me just explain that for a moment. In local public safety bargaining, collective bargaining, each side may be bargaining and you may come to an impasse. The Illinois statute provides for interest arbitration, whereby a non-elected person, the arbitrator, will choose between the two proposals. So, for instance, if someone wants, the labor side wants a 4% increase and the community is only offering a 2% increase, the arbitrator is going to make that decision. And currently, he does not have to consider the actual financial resources of the community. So a 4% award when the community can only pay 2% is problematic. So what we're proposing here would bring greater transparency to that process and allow for consideration of the actual financial realities that the community is facing and not hopeful possibilities. As elected leaders, we have a responsibility to our constituents, and we make difficult decisions and attempt to remain financially sound. We can no longer afford to wait. Instead, today we come prepared with solutions to ensure that local governments can continue to provide the essential services that protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Illinois. And now, Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mayor Darch. The changes proposed in the Moving Cities Forward agenda are necessary to strengthen local governments. One issue I'm most passionate about is the expansion of home rule eligibility. The Illinois Constitution currently grants home rule status to municipalities with a population in excess of 25,000. We believe communities with a population of 5,000 residents, which would be an additional 173 communities, deserve additional governing tools afforded by home rule status. Of the total 1,297 communities in Illinois, only 211 are currently home rule. Illinois taxpayers expect solutions to financial and operational challenges facing their communities. Expanding home rule eligibility will equip communities to meet those expectations. We hope lawmakers recognize the urgency and importance of this issue, as well as the others contained in our Moving Cities Forward agenda. Thank you.
As the mayors have indicated, a number of these issues are based on specific concerns that come out of communities that they represent. Our 47-member board of directors for the Illinois Municipal League develops a legislative agenda that is aggressive and ambitious to address issues of local concern. These are a number of those. This document is supplemented by our legislative policies and principles and our legislative agenda for this legislative session. So those are additional reference points for you. At this time, we'd be open to any questions about any of the issues that you may have or that we've been discussing this morning.
Brad, are any of the governor's proposals that he's been floating in his turnaround agenda, do they mesh with what you're proposing here?
Some of the issues that the administration has released have been long-standing policy positions for the league. And in fact, for many years, as Mayor Gray indicated, we've been talking about workers' compensation reform or prevailing wage reform, bringing more flexibility to local governments. So there is some coincidence of similarity based on the fact that municipalities and local elected officials have been talking about these issues for decades.
Given the opposition that those particular items have faced in the legislature, what's it going to take to move the ball forward on that this year?
Well, there are just a couple of those issues that have some overlap. You'll note that many of the proposals in the Moving Cities Forward platform come out of the Governor's Task Force on Unfunded Mandates and Local Government Consolidation, which was approved overwhelmingly and presented with a number of recommendations. So there may be some obstacles to issues that have been discussed over the years, but they are nonetheless important to local governments, and they're issues that the mayors feel that we should get out in front of people so that citizens can have their voices heard. Because at the local level, we are trying to solve these problems and address them, whether it's every other Monday or Tuesday night at a city council meeting or up and down the street. In these communities, there are real issues that need solving.
Well, to build on the previous question, I'm not sure that these guys on the third floor have a number of victories to crow about in the past year. You certainly don't have a budget, and I'm wondering what faith you have that they can give you some wins in your agenda here.
Well, faith is based just on that, faith. So we have faith that good people can come together to solve hard problems thoughtfully, and that's what the mayors through the Illinois Municipal League have done with this proposal. We're presenting solid recommendations on how both sides of the equation can come together to see meaningful change and to solve problems. These are issues that are, in some cases, being pushed down from the state level to the local level. And while the state may be without a budget, every municipality has a balanced budget. They pass it every year. And while the state may have issues with an impasse, City Hall is open for business every day. So the mayors don't have the luxury of pushing off these issues, and what they're doing is taking a proactive, a positive approach to presenting real solutions. We're not here today to complain about problems. We're here today to present solutions that can bring both sides together for the people of Illinois and our Main Street communities.
One of the things that the governor said in his budget address last week was one of his options was the Senator Radonio's bill that would give him some widespread authority over the budget. And one of the things would be being able to sweep local government distributed funds. I'm wondering what the Municipal League's thoughts are on that measure.
Local government distributive fund, also known as LGDF, was not specifically mentioned as one of the funds that could be swept. I think it was probably referencing some of the other non-general revenue funds like Mayor Darch talked about, such as motor fuel tax, 911 fees, video gaming, casino gaming, and use tax fees. Of course, our position is that we don't think any of those funds should be swept. They're pass-through funds that are collected for municipalities by the state, and they are funding the operation of local government. As I said, City Hall is open for business, and so those funds are going directly to help local residents and local communities. So we are not supportive of any fund sweeps. With regard to LGDF, I think the case has been made solidly, and the General Assembly has supported the maintenance of the current funding level for LGDF, which of course allows for 8 cents of the state income tax dollar to be provided to local communities. The state operates off 92 cents of that dollar. So if local municipalities can operate off of 8 cents, we're hopeful that the state can operate off 92.
He's also keeps talking about property tax freeze, and he talks about cost controls for local governments. Has the municipal league taken a position on that? I mean, the changes to collective bargaining and prevailing wage adequately make up for a property tax freeze?
I think any of the changes that we're proposing all add up to being supportive of the bigger picture. But in their own right, no, they don't make up for that. And the Municipal League is opposed to any permanent property tax freeze. We feel like that unnecessarily burdens and constrains local governments and local decision-making by locally elected officials who are closest to their constituents. So we are opposed to any permanent property tax freeze. We have been in discussions on some of the proposed temporary property tax freezes, but this is an issue where municipalities are kind of caught up in the wave of the property tax discussion, where they are not the majority of the tax bill for homeowners or business owners.
I apologize if I missed it, but I see on your press release local control over prevailing wage decisions. Would the state legislature set a limit on, like, that it would have to be, you know, any project over a certain amount would have to be, or would it have to entirely be a local decision under what you propose?
It could go either way. House Bill 5041 right now sets a threshold of $20,000 so that anything under that threshold would not be required for prevailing wage. We actually think that that threshold could be raised, so it could be a little bit higher to allow more flexibility. But we'd be open to it either way, either a set dollar amount under which the community could decide, or leaving it up to the communities to decide.
And are you saying anything about the collective bargaining? Because that's, the governor has said locals should be able to decide if they collectively bargain with their workers. Is that part of this too?
I think in general, our position is more decisions that can be made by the local elected officials who are closest to their representatives, the better it is for us. Mark?
Mayor, how are you doing? It's kind of a background question. In 2016, you had the bill to get some of the pass-through LGDF, 9/11 casino money. Has the local been made whole for 2016?
Yes, in fact, the comptroller has released all of those funds. There is no fund, I think, that is past due, so everything is on its regular cycle. Some of them are delayed naturally, like LGDF is on a 60-day maximum delay. So there may be some that are a few days behind, but they are on track. So we are appreciative of the fact that the comptroller released all those funds after that bill was passed in December.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Have you had any
Terry?
contact with the Speaker's office as far as any of these issues? One, and two, I know you have a local government caucus. To what extent are they supportive of this agenda?
Well, we work very closely with the Cities and Villages Committee in the House and local government in the Senate. And we have briefed the Speaker's office and the President's office and the Governor's office on our legislative agenda for this year. They have the complete document, and they will be provided with this document as well today, which pulls out specific pieces of it. So they are aware of our agenda, and many of these items we've had pretty in-depth conversations with, and as the legislative session continues, we'll be pushing them further. Also in your document, you'll see that there are specific bill numbers that are referenced with the House and Senate sponsors, so you can follow up with any of them individually on the proposals.
Thank you. One of you said something which kind of tripped something. You said, listening to your constituents and all that, and four of you know that if you don't do that, you're not going to be mayor very long. So with that in mind, how do you evaluate the job the governor is doing and listening to what he's been told and acting accordingly?
Well, we think that the mayors are doing their bit every day and keeping the streets open and clean, public safety on patrol, resources available for citizens is the most important job of the mayor. Obviously, as Mayor Darch indicated, providing for the public health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. We're here to present positive, meaningful suggestions that can see some change easily this legislative session, and I think we're convinced that if the General Assembly and the administration want to come together on some of these, they can. We're hopeful that they will.
Brad, can you give us an overview of the state of the cities? In other words, are these reforms a wish list, or are these critical if we're still going to have functioning communities around the state?
I think the old adage goes, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. This platform is to move cities forward. We don't want communities to fall behind. The cities, towns, and villages in Illinois have been suffering for many years because of unfunded mandates and overburdensome restrictions that are placed on local governments by the state government and the federal government. And so these really are critical issues today. Now, some of them we've been talking about for many years. And so you ask, how are they critical today if you've been talking about them forever? Well, just because they're old doesn't mean they're not important. And some of these are very important for us today. We're presenting sound solutions for very serious problems. And if some of these are enacted and there's some serious discussion and thoughtful movement on them, I think we can see cities benefiting and growing our economy, putting people back to work locally, maintaining the public health, safety, and welfare that we talked about. Bernie?
Yeah, does the Municipal League have any role or position in trying to reduce the number of governments we have? You know, more than 1,000 of the 7,000 are yours. Will Met and Evanston getting together or anything like that? Or?
Well, there are 1,297 municipalities in Illinois. Just last year in 2014, some measures were taken that resulted in some reductions in the number of municipalities in 2015. So there is an ongoing effort for very small communities to take a look at dissolving, but we support the recommendations that came out of the task force, and we understand that most of the room for municipalities to participate in consolidation are maybe to work with other units of government, other special taxing districts, with counties, with townships, with special service areas, to see if the municipality can offer some of those services. And we've seen some recommendations come forward and some movement, particularly in the suburbs in the last few weeks, of ways that municipalities are working with townships to consolidate.
But is a large number of governments necessarily a bad thing? I would think if I've got my own one-building school district and my own mosquito abatement commission, that's the ultimate in local control, isn't it?
Well, we think the number of municipalities in Illinois right now is just about right.
If you were to look at this list, what
I can't talk about the others, I don't know, so.
if you were to look at this list, what is the most important thing? In this General Assembly, odds are of this agenda of this size moving forward is slim to none. So if you were to look at this and say, what is the most important thing on this? We really want this done this session, what is it?
Well, of the 9 proposals in our Moving Cities Forward platform, I would say they're all tied for first place in level of importance. But realistically, the first 2 are critically important. The continuing, ongoing automatic appropriation of pass-through funds, non-general revenue funds for municipal operations, and then also the expansion of eligibility for home rule status. Those are our 2 top issues that will allow local governments to maintain their operations and to be able to make more decisions at City Hall. Mark?
Leader Durkin yesterday talked about perhaps workers' comp might be a point where they can get together and start moving forward. Would you discuss the effect of workers' comp and what cities would like to see happen, municipal league, your members would like to see happen with workers' comp?
Well, any number of communities can point to outrageous claims or expenses that have been filed or awarded through workers' compensation. And as we go back to the issues that Mayor Williams talked about, that we provide every day for people, obviously those are provided by public safety personnel and public works personnel. And so those are individuals that are likely to get hurt because in the act of their job, they're doing difficult things. So we don't suppose that rightfully injured employees should not get awarded benefits or have compensable claims. But there are some cases where changes have occurred, and we saw in 2012 where in the Will County Forest Preserve case, where there was a change from a shoulder injury from being an arm to a man of the whole. And so whereas there are limits that can be placed on compensation for injuries to an arm, there are no limits for the man as a whole. And so that changed in 2012, and then going back even to 2005 with some of the changes, we see where compensation awards have been increased or the rules have changed along the way. And so I'm not here to give you specific details of individual cases, but many communities of all sizes, from 13 in Valley City, Illinois, to 2.5 million in the city of Chicago, workers' compensation claims are a serious concern. We want our employees to be compensated for any injury that they have received, and we certainly don't want them to receive any injuries. We want them to be safe, but we think there should be some attention paid to the issues, and I think, one of them is, frankly, a more strict adherence to AMA guidelines on some of the compensation rules. And also just to note that we do support the efforts of some of the other organizations, the Illinois Chamber, NFIB, the Manufacturers Association, as they develop their overall workers' compensation reform package.
Brad, how do these proposed reforms compare to what cities in other states have? And to what extent, if they've been enacted, have they helped governing at the municipal level?
Many of these issues are seen in other states, but Illinois is obviously a larger state. We have a greater number of municipalities, and so our distinction is a little bit different than some of our neighboring states and other states around the country. I do work with my colleagues at the other state leagues, but some of these are specific to us, and of course, our current situation with the legislature is unique to us. So, one last question. Yeah.
One thing that you guys have talked about a lot in the past is changes to police and fire pensions. That's not in the agenda this year. Is that just a realization that given the current environment that's going to be really hard to get through, or why not make more of an issue of some of those changes that you guys have brought up in the past?
It is a part of our legislative agenda. It is not in this Moving Cities Forward, but it is a part of our 10-point legislative agenda, and we feel like the best option for reform to police and fire pensions right now is the consolidation of the funds. We are proposing the consolidation of the more than 650 independent pension boards into one fund, similar to the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, where they have individualized accounts for each community, but one pooled fund to allow for more flexibility in the investment and greater investment returns. So that is very much a part of our legislative agenda. It's not highlighted here. We do understand that it will be difficult to see some changes with public safety pensions, but again, these are mandates that are placed on municipalities, the benefits that are approved by the General Assembly that go beyond the control of local governments, and we're trying to find ways to create better return and to also streamline the process, so more effectiveness and more efficiency. And we think consolidation of those funds is the way to go about that. All right, thank you very much.
You're watching the Illinois Channel.